Hi there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to my presentation here on the Flipper Zero device. My name is Michael Harding, and during this presentation, we're going to talk about what the Flipper Zero actually is, what kind of hardware it has involved in it, um, examples of how it can be used. We'll go over some of the built-in frequency restrictions and some of the limitations that it does have. And then we'll talk about some points for, against, and then for respectively the Flipper Zero. Diving right in, we'll talk about what it is. It's been referred to as the Swiss Army knife of penetration testing. It's marketed toward learning pen testers as well as geeks in general. It's a fully open sourced and customizable device that is completely autonomous, which I think is pretty cool. You don't need a PC to run this thing or anything else. It comes ready to go out of the package. Um, it has the capabilities for NFC, which is near field communication, um, reads and writes. It has the ability to pick up radio frequency identification or RFID. Um, it also has infrared capabilities, much like a TV remote. Um, it has sub 1 GHz communication frequencies that it has the ability to read, write, and save even. It has Bluetooth capabilities, and it also has the ability to be able to hook up to other hardware components. It's got 18 I/O ports for hardware connections. It also has I button one wire support, which I showed in this here. Um, it's a common technology used to access buildings and such. Um, the cool thing I think about this particular device is that it is super small and lightweight. You're able to take it anywhere pretty much. It's only 100 by 40 by 25 millimeters. As you can see, like that's somebody holding it in their hand. It's very small, easy to use device. It only weighs 100 grams. Um, yeah, very versatile. And easily maneuverable. You can take it with you. Um, it's essentially kind of having like referred to a Swiss Army knife of pen testing, a lot of different versatile options to use in the hacking or wireless electronic devices realm. So this is the guts per se. This is the different hardwares involved inside the flipper. Obviously up top, we've got its little case that it sits in. It has its own LCD screen, as well as just buttons to help navigate the device. Those GPIO headers are where you can hook up new hardware. It's got that IR LED and receiver. Um, the antenna is up top by the screen there. You can see it simply by taking off the case. That's where a lot of the uses are going to come in. It's got a USB Type-C port that's used for charging as well as updating. Um, it has a low power MCU as well as a micro SD card slot. That's where a lot of the saves, well, that's where the saves go when it uses that function. The battery life is actually approximated at 7 days, which is pretty cool here. It's very low power using device. That I button pad is at the back of the device, as you can see. And then the RFID board is on the back of the device as well. So essentially, I'll show you an example of it later, but essentially when you're going to read or write, you just set the device on top of whatever you're reading from or writing to. So this is what it looks like in and out. Pretty simple device. A lot of different components that allow it to do many different uses. And speaking of uses, we'll go over a couple of different things it can do. I've seen some examples where they're able to open garage doors based on the frequency, gates and barriers. Like parking garage structures have the little barriers that go up. You could use it to just simply open it without having to pay. Here is an example I found of somebody who was able to unlock a car. So I'll be quiet and watch this real quick. It's just a short video. but I thought very cool. It shows how it works. So yeah, as you can see, it has the capabilities to lock and unlock cars. In some instances, you only get one shot. In older vehicles that don't use rolling codes, there is the possibility to do it again. This can obviously pose a huge risk in terms of theft of vehicles or stealing things from vehicles. Um, but it also serves as a way to understand your surroundings as well, which I think is pretty cool. Knowing how the lock mechanisms actually operate and how people get in would be useful for somebody in the ethical hacking um, realm to understand to learn how to prevent, such as using rolling codes. Um, it has the ability to manipulate devices using infrared, such as TVs, like I had mentioned earlier. Really, anything with a remote. You have the ability to scan and save those functions and use them off the flipper device, um, which I think is pretty cool. Um, Here's another example I wanted to show um, where we clone a RFID. Um, Basically granting us access to a building using a scan-in panel. I know we use these at work, so I could tell right away that this would be a this device would be a problem for my company specifically. So I thought it was cool to show. So he's got access with that one, and he redlines for that one. So he's going to read from the one that's working, and he's going to proceed to save it to the flipper itself. Or I'm sorry, he's going to write it to the blank one without saving. Bingo. So now we have a key that works, and he was able to do it without manipulating the key that pre-existing worked. So as you can see, this has the potential to grant access to buildings even or places you're not supposed to be. All you have to do is get a hold of something that has the code, or I mean, you saw how quickly it was to read it and save it. Um, there are ways to be able to get that information from people, which again poses a huge security risk. One of the cool things I also read about but wasn't able to find an example of was how to create two-factor authentication tokens for websites. One thing I'd love to learn how to do is perhaps get my two-factor authentication for school on a flipper. I know that a lot of times my phone is dead and I'm trying to get into my school account, which isn't fun. Um, but but yeah, you can see in an instance where this would be helpful but could also be harmful. I do believe it has the ability as well to run brute force programs on passwords and usernames. So in combined with the ability to create two-factor authentication tokens as well as run brute force password algorithms, this could be a huge privacy and security risk. Lastly, I wanted to show another example. Um, this one's really quick, but I'll show you here. So she has the Amiibo video game characters. This is an NFC example where she's going to read the code off the bottom and simply save it to her Flipper device. This is just another example of theft here. Um, the possibility where you're not paying for specific codes, and with that NFC scanner, there are a lot of different things that you can pick up, including like financial cards or debit cards even. There are limitations on it. It doesn't allow you to save that information, like bank information specifically. There are restrictions there. But I was struggling to find the more specific details on how those restrictions are able to happen. So it still poses a severe risk, as you can tell. Some of the built-in functions that on the Flipper device that are able to disincentivize illegal or illicit activities, I would say. Um, there are different frequencies based on region that are illegal to use for everyday citizens. So here is a list that Flipper Zero, it came right off of their website, of the different frequencies that are legal to use based on region. As you can see here, we're right here, United States of America. So we can use these frequencies as well as these at the bottom, as it says rest of the world. Yeah, but we're restricted from using, I don't believe I saw the United States in here. Yeah, we're restricted from using these um, or the other different signals possible by region. And it's cool because if you try to use them, the flipper will actually, it'll pop up with its little dolphin character and say, you can't use this frequency. Um, and it wags its little finger at you, which is kind of funny. Reminds me of Jurassic Park, where the guys are trying to hack back into the system. The little dolphin wags its finger and says, ah, ah, ah. So, pretty cool here. Now, for talking against the flipper, we've seen some examples where you're able to steal private information or get around paying for information with the Amiibo codes specifically as an example. Um, like we saw with the RFID badges used to grant access to the buzzer. It poses the ability to allow ungranted access to buildings, vehicles, and information. Uh, this has the ability to assist the user in theft of property, or even cause damage to property. And obviously, we talked about it poses a privacy and security risk, allowing access to harmful information if used nefariously on electronic devices. And it has very few restrictions apart from those the frequencies we talked about. This is really the only built-in restriction it has that I was able to find. Otherwise, it is pretty open-ended. Like I said earlier, it is referred to as the Swiss Army knife. It has a lot of different possibilities. But on the other hand, it isn't a skeleton key. There are some devices that it simply cannot do. Um, but with that in mind, you can build your own that is able to do whatever you want it to do. All of the components are out there. And like I said, like here are the guts. You could go buy all of these pieces and build something that's more custom to you, and is able to do all of these things without getting the flipper. Obviously, it's going to cost you a little bit more of a pretty penny, but um, yeah, and not to mention there are already pre-built devices out there that are able to do some of the different uses that this can. And while they are in the wrong hands, nefarious purposes, can be executed. But otherwise, one of the points I wanted to make too was is that crime and security attacks, they require a distinct amount of planning and intent. So for a device like this, there are laws and regulations to decentivize using the device this way because obviously, like, theft is illegal. So if I went in with the intention to steal amiibo codes and was caught, technically shoplifting or even theft, um, depending on, how many amiibo codes I stole or, what other information I can steal. And is it even possible to get, like prepaid debit and credit cards or gift cards even and steal them that way? Um, there are different ways of this device can be used for nefarious purposes, but at the end of the day, um, it is a penetration testing device. So it has the intention of being used to help strengthen security while also helping learners in the field gain awareness of their environment. Like I mentioned earlier with unlocking the cars, being able to learn how that works allows you to learn how to prevent nefarious purposes from happening. Um, so my ideology behind this one kind of brings us back to the conversation we had in class regarding the 3D printers being used to build guns. It's hard to say that the Flipper Zero should be banned or it should be heavily restricted because that there is a market to there's a market for nefarious purposes, that this device can specifically grant you access to. However, at the same time, we place laws and regulations to decentivize that activity, and this device, can do good by helping learn where weak spots are in devices, or learning how to prevent somebody from copying, a fob frequency for a vehicle, or different ways to protect against, shoplifting of digital information. Um, so for every negative purpose or nefarious purpose, I feel is almost there is a counterpoint to make for how it can help strengthen security and privacy, or even protect against the loss or damage of property. Um, so there are two sides of the coin, or there are many more sides to this coin. It's more like a dice, I'd say. But at the end of the day, my argument is that for every nefarious use, there is also a use that can do good. This device, it can help educate, it can help prevention, but at the same time, it can also be used to harm. So it should be, used with relative responsibility, and um, there are lots of tutorials out there and different projects that people are doing with these. Um, and like I said, it's all open sourced and autonomous, so it is on the go. It is ready to move, and all it takes is a little bit of learning in order to, be able to exercise some of these cool uses, um, even if it's just for a learning experience, which is pretty cool. And lastly, I basically pulled a lot of this information off of the Flipper Zero website and frequencies. They have docs in there that explain in more detail about some of their hardware and what they're about and stuff. Um, but I also found a quick article that just details how it works more often, and also what some of more of its limitations are, as well as what kind of devices are similar. So if you want to check that out, it's a pretty cool site, pretty cool article. um, but other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of the presentation, and I hope you were able to find a cool toy to add to the shopping list. I know it's certainly on mine, but unfortunately they are sold out, and it doesn't look like they will be re-in-stocked for some time. So keep your eyes open for it. If you get your hands on one or have one, I hope you're having fun. That's pretty cool. But other than that, thank you again for watching. Good luck with your own presentations. I hope they all go well. It's been a great semester. Thanks, guys.